Hi, I'm going to remind you about the difference for when you are teaching GE versus DGE. And there are definitely a few things that you will need to keep in mind here. First of all, when you are working with this, you want to remember that you have to know the difference between when to use K and when to use CK. You also want to make sure that your student or students know the difference between when do you use CH and when do you use TCH, because what we are about to do is going to build on that knowledge of long spelling right after short vowel. But you also have to make sure that they know that G says J, at least with the E part, even if they don't know the I and the Y part. So those are non-negotiables. They definitely should have command about what is a short vowel, what are all of those short vowels, what do they say. For this phonological awareness piece, this is where instead of sorting between is it a long vowel or is it a short vowel, since they should be pretty good at that, you can give them words like I say the word pitch. Is it going to be CH or TCH? How come? And then I might give a word like lunch. Is it CH or TCH? How come? And you sort them into the appropriate cup. That gives you a nice warm up and a nice ramp into the fact that we are about to do is it GE or DGE? Now, you definitely want to know Gentle Cindy, even if you're just doing that E part. And here's a visual to help you remember. You already should have this GE card in your deck, but you're going to want to fish out your DGE card because this is going to go into your visual drill tomorrow. I am absolutely in your auditory drill going to ask you what are the three ways to spell J. J is first, then G, G with an E, and now this DGE. It is a trigraph because it's three letters together making one sound instead of being a digraph. It is the exact same rule. Which way is longer to spell J? Would it be longer? Would it be more letters to use GE or DGE? Hopefully they say DGE. Yes, how come? Well, because it's three letters instead of two letters, correct. So we are going to use that DGE right after short vowel. And when we do trace copy cover in a moment, you're going to see at the top that it says DGE says J right after short vowel. And you don't want them to say long spelling right after short vowel because I'm trying to link that these specific letters make this specific sound when. They are also going to have to know, and you'll have to tell them that there are 0 words in English that end with the letter J. Also 0 words in English that end with JE. So if you hear J at the end of a word, it's either going to be GE or DGE. So just like all of your other concepts, you're going to do this I do, we do, you do. So if I say the word is ridge, I'm going to finger spell that and I'm going to go r, I, j. I is a short vowel, and I hear a j right after it. So I'm going to pick the DGE because long spelling right after short vowel. And obviously, you can do this for reading as well. You can show them a word and show them how you sound it out, how this DGE plays together as one sound. Then we will do a word or two together before I start having you do some on your own. Here's your trace copy cover that is in your Google Drive folder. And you see how it says DGE says J right after short vowel. They're going to trace that DGE And they are going to say that jingle at the top. And then I'm going to get them to read several words. Now, when they read these words, it's more than just reading them. They need to make sure that they blend them together. And you obviously need to continue to develop vocabulary. So, although they probably know what is page and what is fudge, do they know what is a wedge? What are some things that might be in the shape of a wedge? But you can also say things like, okay, wage, why is that a GE? How come it is not a DGE? They should be able to tell you because it's not right after a short vowel, right? And they could also say that that E can't jump that far because he can only jump over one letter. And then you see how you could go the opposite way. This first word says page. How come that's not a DGE? Okay, fudge. Why is that a DGE? How come it's not just a GE? If I took that letter out, what would it say? So we're going to have them read words. We're going to have them read phrases because remember, we're going from the most simplistic to the most advanced. And then we're going to get them to read sentences. Now, if your students can't handle a 6, 7 word sentence, then make it much shorter. I gave a long sentence here. And I chose to give a sentence that had two GEs and a DGE in it. Obviously, if your students can't handle that much at first, then don't scale it up that quickly for them. But they read the sentence. Okay, great. Tell me what this means. How come fudge has a DGE? Okay, now read it again so that you can develop a little bit of fluency, but this time I want you to read it like this emoji. You see how you can put chips out and have them read, I had a wedge of fudge. Great. Now read it again. I had a wedge of fudge. Okay. If you had a wedge of fudge, tell me what your picture in your mind would look like. Okay. It might look something like that. And yeah, it's a wedge. So what's the shape of a wedge? Okay. Now read it again, only this time put the emphasis on the word had. And if you had it, what does that mean? Is it right now or was it in the past? Yeah, great. You had it and yeah, you don't have it any longer. You see how if you put the emphasis on wedge, I had a wedge of fudge. Okay, so what's the shape of that piece of fudge? Yeah, it's not in that shape, right? That's not a wedge. Tell me what a wedge looks like. In your Google Drive folder, you have this game board so that you can have students practice telling you over and over again, does a word end with a GE or a DGE? So if it is your turn, I'm going to pick a card, I'm going to read it to you, and I say the word is smudge. You might have to go s, m, j. Is a short vowel. I hear a j right after it. It's DGE, correct. You move on to the DGE. Then you pick a card and you read it to me and you say large. I might go L, R, J. R is not a short vowel. So GE is going to be my spelling. Oh, you're winning. You're one space ahead of me. I am now on the GE spot. Right. And we just go around and around the board until whoever finishes first wins. I then will give you a variety of words to spell. Notice how they can be really simplistic, like cage or rage, or they can be way more complicated, like gorge with an R controlled and two different G's in there, each saying something different, just like engage. And you see, there are several DGE words. Notice how they are different from the words that I asked you to read. I'm going to get you to spell some phrases and then I will get you to spell a sentence. Now, again, if your students can't handle this many words, well, then don't give them this many words. If you need to scaffold by drawing lines for them, you can certainly do that. And just like you would want to do in your previous sessions, where you take and you put in cops and then they go back and check for, do they have a capital? Do they have the words in the right order? Do they have the punctuation? Okay, now let's look at the spelling. So I hope that you found that to be helpful.